Hi, I'm Matt, here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Today, Matt and I are bringing you a new movie review. Recently released, The Suicide Squad. It stars Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, Joel Kinnaman, Viola Davis, Peter Capaldi, John Cena, Daniela Melchior, and David Dastmalchian. It is written and directed by James Gunn, who is also known for Slither, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and of course the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But before we get too far into the review, make sure that if you like this sort of thing, you give this video a like. Those likes really help us out. If you always want to see more, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon to be notified of our most recent uploads.
Now, The Suicide Squad is currently in theaters and playing on HBO Max. It's about a group of incarcerated comic book villains who were sent on suicide missions by the US government in exchange for time off their sentences. This time they are sent to Corto Maltese to destroy all evidence of a project known as Starfish. Now, this movie has a $185 million budget and so far has received high reviews from both critics and audiences. Alright, Randall, we just got done watching The Suicide Squad. What did you think about this go-around?
I'm gonna have to do a solid disagreement with the critics and audience members. I thought this movie was pretty boring for the most part. I was actually looking forward to it, given James Gunn's done such a good job with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I was mostly disappointed? Sorry? Not sorry? What do you think, man?
I had a little bit better viewing experience or whatever. I was actually laughing quite a bit through this movie, so I enjoyed for the most part. Though I will say, going closer to the end, like before we get up to the end, there is this lull I felt in the movie where it is man, starting to feel this 2-hour and 12-minute runtime here kind of thing. But I thought there's a lot of gore-tastic action and stuff, and I was laughing through most of the movie. So I would say I enjoyed myself, but yeah, I'm surprised by the really high reviews. I thought this was an okay movie.
The thing was, I was laughing for the first half of the movie. I thought the first half of the movie was moving at a very good pace and had a whole bunch of really good comedic moments. But then somewhere right around the Harley Quinn storyline picking back up, I was just, the laughs mostly went away, with the small exception of, not really a spoiler because it's in the trailer,
We're here to save you.
You were gonna save me?
It was a really good plan, too.
Well, I can go back inside and you can still do it.
But yeah, the latter half of this film, I definitely didn't get that many laughs, and it was just dragging on, in my opinion. And I definitely felt that 2 hours and 12 minutes runtime. I thought there were scenes in here that definitely were completely unnecessary. They didn't really build that much. Yes, we get to see the further emancipation of Harley Quinn. Not that they made a whole movie about it or anything. So that whole scene with her pouring her guts out about how she, was looking for warning signs and not getting into another bad toxic relationship was completely unnecessary. And there's several scenes in this film that I felt they don't really add to it. Yeah, they're not necessarily bad scenes in and of themselves, but they don't add anything to this film.
Yeah, I kind of felt a little bit about that, and that is where I felt the lull too, was right after those Harley Quinn scenes that you're talking about. And, some of the action scenes are better, but really, I mean, Harley Quinn, she's an awesome character, but some of my favorite, I think, are the newer ones, of course, John Cena! His character in this movie, I thought, was pretty interesting. We have a little back and forth, competition going on in this movie between, his character and Idris Elba's character, so that stuff was enjoyable. And yeah, like I was talking about, in the intro, the gore-tastic, there's a lot of gore, but it's all kind of brought up for laughs and stuff. I mean, we get people who are, pulled apart, from side to side in this movie in big slow motion poses kind of thing. But it's all kind of meant for laughs and stuff, and not just supposed to be, just gory for the sake of gore.
Yeah, Idris Elba does a great job at playing Deadshot in this movie. Oh, sorry. Not Deadshot. Bloodsport. That's a completely different movie. I did like, for the most part, the cast was well casted, and everyone did a very good job of their cast. Obviously, Margot Robbie continues to kill it as Harley Quinn, even if Harley Quinn still does not make that much sense to be put in these scenarios. But yeah, what are you gonna do? Joel Kinnaman was honestly perfect casting for Rick Flag, and it just going down the list. The whole cast was great, but I still found myself not like falling in love with anybody in this film. I guess maybe we're not supposed to. Maybe that's the point. And in particular, I found like all of the scenes with like the office workers just unbearable. I'm like, they're all bad people, and I just didn't care about them. And at least in the original one, I can kind of feel for like Viola Davis's like what she's trying to do. In this one, I'm like, man, no, she's just a bad person, and I get that she's a bad person anyways, but a really terrible person in this one.
Yeah, the office character scenes kind of felt like what Cabin in the Woods or whatever, a little bit of like the people behind the scenes making everything go. That's kind of the same feel I got with those people in this. And this movie has a lot of like over the top. I mean, heck, we got, a shark man in this one, and we have a weasel, a giant weasel. So some of the things that these characters do are completely, over the top, outside reality. And I like that we have, some of the wrinkles with the characters. I mean, Polka Dot Man, like the whole concept is so weird. And in this movie, it goes even further. So people that are checking out this movie, you'll see a little bit more to Polka Dot Man in this movie.
Yeah, very, very well played, by the way. Polka Dot Man. He's the linchpin of the DCEU if you haven't seen those memes already. He's in the Nolan Batman verse. He's in the, Dark Knight trilogy or whatever. He's in the DC like TV series shows. He's in the DCEU. Yep. David holds everything together.
He's a lot. And another person, of course, without giving away what character he plays and stuff too, I completely forgot. I don't know if you realized that Taika was in this movie, Taika Waititi.
I didn't realize it until I saw the scene. I was like, is that Taika? And like, yeah, it is. Okay. So one of the things about the film, though, okay, let's be honest. Lots of the things about this film didn't hit with me. But one of the big things about this film that didn't hit with me was the lack of a like real antagonist. The closest you get is like this combobulation of like military officials that had a coup on the island, and then you get Peter Capaldi's the Thinker. And maybe in an earlier draft, the Thinker has more to do and is more important to the story, but I just felt like the lack of a real bad guy to go after, and the mission is just, go in here and destroy all things related to Starfish, wasn't enough to keep me entertained. I wanted them to actually have a true somebody to face off against, and that never really happened.
That's the thing too with like Suicide Squad. I think some people were thinking that like maybe Joker was gonna be like the big baddie as opposed to just a character with like flashback scenes or whatever with Harley Quinn for the most part. But that'd be interesting. Yeah, this is one of those things too where you're kind of like, well, is there gonna be like a big baddie? And I guess kind of mini spoilers. There isn't really that big baddie, in this film or whatever. They have stuff to like fight, and they have scenes to go against like bad guys, but yeah, I don't think anyone really rounds themselves out as like that big, antagonist to go against.
Which honestly just leads me to my next criticism, which isn't specific to this film. It's just the DCU is still just a mess. They went out of their way to say this is it's not really a sequel to the original Suicide Squad, but it clearly exists within the same universe as the original Suicide Squad film does. And the Birds of Prey films, and obviously the recent Snyderverse, which is apparently being put out, but Aquaman 2 still I don't know, man. I don't know. It feels so disjointed, and this film is not helping that disjointed feeling.
Yeah, I think that might be what DCEU's going with right now. Instead of having like, a MCU where everything's kind of like connected and it's all fitting to like one storyline, they're just having like the same characters like do different stories and stuff instead of like an actual arc that brings things together. I agree. I think that's what this movie is. It is just another piece with some of the characters that we see in other films that like you said, a direct sequel, not a direct sequel, kind of like a playoff. It's just kind of in there someplace.
Yeah, but I mean, they directly mention Superman in this.
In prison for putting Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet.
The insinuation is that happened sometime in his past. It's not like Superman's just sitting around in a coma. But Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, they all exist. And this giant starfish shows up, and that's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. And it's just like, wow, it'd be great if there was like some super powered being on this planet that could handle this giant starfish. Nope. None of that. That's what I mean when I say it feels so disjointed. Like, yes, if you're going to tell an independent story a la Aquaman or, the Flash movie that they're making, that's supposed to be, who knows, actually. That's supposed to have Michael Keaton in it. And then you reference these other things, it just makes sense that Superman would show up. Giant starfish, rampaging. That's kind of Superman turf.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. I'm like, oh, are we gonna bump into superhero or whatever? So yeah,
I'll sum it up, and I will say I found the first half of the film incredibly entertaining. I liked the characters, I liked the casting.
This whole beach was completely covered in dicks, and somebody said I'd eat every dick until the beach was clean for liberty, I would say no problemo.
Why would someone put penises all over the beach?
Who knows why madmen do what they do?
The idea is still interesting for the Suicide Squad. That's obviously why it's a pretty successful comic book series. But the execution of this just does not hit home for me. The fact that it does not meld with the DCEU, whatever is or isn't the DCEU anymore, does not hit with me. And there are just spots in here where the movie is just plain slow, full of scenes that I don't care about.
Yeah, for me, I'm one of those on the line of like, this has some good funny parts in it, some good action scenes in it, sprinkled here and there, but the overall structure I don't think is all that great in this film. Like I said, it's an okay film, at least for me. I'm a bit surprised by, the glowing reviews, but hey, maybe it's because we've been without movies for a while that a lot of movies are getting, more positive reviews than they would have if they'd come out 2 years ago. Let us know what you guys think of The Suicide Squad in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out some of our other reviews. We have other new movie reviews, flashback reviews. We also take a look at TV shows and have deeper dive discussions.
Also, be sure to check us out on our Facebook page if you haven't already. We post the day before on Facebook what's going to be coming up next on YouTube. If you don't want to have to bother with us on Facebook, just know we have a schedule. We release new videos every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Randall here in Texas. See everyone next time.
And I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day, everyone. Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.